welcome back to the channel and to the Antonov project. So in the last chapter I had the top wings on, I focused on the ailerons, they got to move, which I'm happy about, so that seems to be working well. Now I'm finally going to get to the rigging, which is very scary, so that's what I'm going to focus on. For the top wing, what I'm doing already took them off, as you can see, and I've built in, I think this I can take off already, I've built in what I'm calling the false rib, in which this piece will actually slide in, then I have to actually make it fit and identify exactly what depth it has to go in. I want to reinforce it with some plywood, same as I did on the lower wing piece. You see, there, this one is reinforced, because then what I want to do, if I find the pencil, I want to cut in, probably with a hand drill, a slot that comes in somehow like this, and that is, I'm going to do, now that I'm here I'll do it, and that is wide enough, maybe not so deep, that is wide enough for the thread to go in, right? This thread, this is the, it's white thread, I think it doesn't matter, but it doesn't really stretch, which I think is good. I don't know, you'll tell me. So the same operation I want to do then also on the top parts, on the that are going to come here, right? So this is what I have to do then on the top wing. Actually, I'm doing it wrong, because that's the top of the wing. It has to come in from underneath. So like this. There you can see it. And then I'll do then the same thing there. While I do that, while I get ready for that, because I've got the other wing also drying, what I have to figure out is also how I'm going to connect then the thread, in this case for the lower wing, from the top part then to the base of the, what's it called, of the strut. And what I'm thinking of doing, I went down to the, I want to call it the tiddly wing shop, but it isn't, it's the sequin shop. These are very shiny, they're the least conspicuous ones. I didn't want, well, pink actually might have been good on it, judging by the canopy over there. But I've got some sequins, and what I want to do, I want to thread the thread through them, and then basically clip them on to this slot. That is kind of the idea. So what I want to do is I'll put some thread through the hole at the top. I'm a little bit afraid that the holes at the top are going to be too small, because they're already quite tight. So I don't know if I make them a little bit wider, simply that the thread also fits. And then kind of figure out the length that it has the right dihedral with my measuring stick. Now it's a bit low. That it has the right dihedral and that it keeps the wing in position. And all that, the point of this is also that I can take it off, because then I still need to do the tissue covering on the wing, so that I can take it off and then do the tissue, bring it back on, glue it in place, and then put also then the rigging. And then if I'm happy and it's in place, then I could maybe just fix it in place with some glue or something like that. So challenging because it's completely new, but interesting because it's completely new. So let's see how this goes, and hopefully by the end of this chapter already I should have the structure complete with rigging in a way that I can take it apart again. So let's see how that goes. And a handheld update this time, just to show you that I've managed to put on one of this rigging, you see there. So it's I think with tension it's kind of okay, I'm not sure. I still have to trim then the edges. It's tied up in there as with a knot, maybe 2 knots even, and then down here down to the what's it called, I always forget, the sequin, right? So I've got the slot also on the other side, so I'll do also the other side. But what I wanted to share also with you, because I'm now working with the ply pieces, this but for the top wing, so I've got here one of them, and of course it's not so easy. It's easier to cut with the scissors, of course, as Cliff showed, but what I came up with the idea of is I've got here the little hand drill. I'm not using it here, I'm just doing it on the desk. I put these 2 big clamps, and this sits quite solid, let's say, and then I just turn it on, and then I can just use this kind of maybe as a lathe or something like that. So I did it also to cut the slots, so kind of happy with this setup. So if you don't have a lathe or any tools, maybe these big peg like clamps, they stabilize the tool, and then you can work over it with goggles ideally, and with a mask also. So just wanted to show that idea. And now I'm going to go back to shaping this piece, making the one for the other side of the wing. I think I might not need to cut out this, because as the strut goes inwards, it's not really needed, so I'm going to leave it in there for strength. And at the same time, I'm going to watch Cliff, who's starting a new project, which sounds, it's always good to start new projects, right? So I have to start a new one soon. So time to call it a day, not for the chapter but for myself. It's already past midnight. But here, let's see if you can see it. I've got the rigging up. I don't know, actually the thread stretches more than I thought it did. And I'm not sure if it actually has any kind of support, if it provides any support, or if it's just decoration, especially that one, I think. But how I've done it, I've assembled there the plastic tubing, put on a, what are these called again? These sequin with a knot behind it, so it gets stuck in there, and then pulled it up here. I've done also, let's see if you can see it, if it focuses. There, maybe it focuses. That's then the top of the right wing spar, not spar. Always forget what these things are called. It's already late. So in any case, like with that construction, with the sequin and the thread put through there to the support, and I think it looks okay. Might be more decoration than anything else. In terms of dihedral, I've got here my dipstick. Let me check it. So here for the lower wing, it is kind of okay, maybe a little bit high. I can squeeze it down. And for the top wing, it's also kind of okay. There it is. So I think it's looking good. And all this, of course, has to then come apart. But anyhow, then the measurement of the threads themselves will be good. What I won't be able to take out, I'll be able to take out the plastic tubing, but not the whole thread, right? Because that's already through the hole. So I'm going to have to, whenever I am doing the tissue on it, is going to have a thread hanging from it, and also for the top part. So let's see. Then tomorrow, if I have time, then I'll do the other wing, which is lying here, and assemble it like that, and then that's actually the structure pretty much done, I believe. Still some wood to do on the underside, maybe some corrections, and yes, of course, then also the wing struts themselves. Struts, that's the word I was looking for. The struts have to be done, right? I have a piece of wood here already, I just need to measure it exactly, and the strut will come in somehow like that, more or less at that angle, a little bit more actually. And here are all the wings and the struts on both sides, and also the rigging assembled. Like actually the building up of the rigging didn't take so long. It was much more about thinking how to do it and then deciding on an option that took more time. The struts, they are not glued in. I still want to maybe sand them down to shape, and I see that they don't fit quite exactly, so maybe have to see how I fill that thing. Maybe then with tissue or something to cover them, if we look at it here from the top. The rigging is, I think, more decoration than anything else, but it might give some kind of rigidity. I don't know. I'm not sure if it will be actually helpful or it's just decoration. We'll see that how it goes. But so anyhow, the wing is assembled, everything is in place, which is good. Now what I have to do is kind of work out quite a lot of details. One of the details that I want to do, I want to fix here the top of the wing here. This bit is a little bit higher, and this is plywood, so I'm going to probably draw a pencil line on it, and then when I take the wing off, sand it down with a hand drill. Maybe sand down a little bit more also on the wings, that it's a snug fit. The lower wing is going to be challenging, because this is where, here on the plan we have, here it says a solid balsa piece that somehow connects from what I'm calling this rib 0 over to the fuselage, covers over the leading edge and things like that. So that's going to be challenging, because I have no idea actually what shape it's going to have, so I have to give it quite a bit of thought. Also then for the trailing edge, how is this going to come in? Here we can see this is the shape that comes. You see? I see now that I didn't put in a gusset, right? It should have gussets and I didn't do them. Let's see, maybe I do them if I remember. But basically I need to put also some piece of wood also that closes in. What I have to do with the fuselage, you can't see it, is that I still don't have the lower stringers in place. I left them off so that I could kind of figure out the joining of the wings and everything. So I might do also then the remaining stringers. There's a 1mm, those are fun to do, still quite a lot of work. And I'm basically progressing, right? So a lot of small parts and not so small parts until it finally comes together. But anyhow, the rigging, my first rigging ever, is in place. If it's useful or not, we'll see. Let me get on to take it apart actually, and then I'll get back to you. So now the next step is going to be to build up the lower part of the fuselage, and so that it's not just me just rambling on. I'll take the top wing off in front of you so you see how I do it. I've got here, I don't know if you can see it, these things, these come off, and then the last toothpick, we pull it out, and with this I hope that the wing can come off, hopefully without breaking anything. I heard a crack, I think I broke a little bit the string, I unglued it, so that's one wing off. I'll take also the strut off, and the same is going to be then with the right wing. So, I don't know if you can see it, so I pull off here the rigging as it's not glued. In the end, with the final mounting, I plan maybe to drop a spot of glue or something on it so that it's well fixed there. The good thing of toothpicks is that they are cheap and I have more. So, and I think one has already fallen off. So this pulls up, and there's the other wing and the other strut, and with this I can leave the lower wing on, but it has the same mechanism. And there you see, so with the sequin and the rigging, I just have to be careful not to knot everything up with the microphone cable. And now I put it back on its back, hasn't been on its back for a while, and its nose heavy. Now what I have to do is move the rigging out of the way, start to measure the length of the stringer that I'm going to need, use the 1mm balsa sheet and building, I'm not sure how many, it's going to depend, at least here maybe one on each side, and then some will go also on the other side. So that's going to be the next part. Measure, cut around 2mm thick, 1mm thick, 2mm wide stringers that then will then hold the tissue. So that's what I'll be doing then during today or this evening. And there's progress on the tissue covering of the lower right wing. The challenge is that as it's tethered to the aeroplane, I'm also tethered to it, so I have to do things in standing. Basically I started with the lower part of the wing. That is what I think is typically recommended. Put on the yellow tissue. I do recommend, and it's not only me but everybody's recommending, when you do tissue, to use a new blade, because it does help. When it's very sharp, then it does help. Not sharp will cut it, but especially for the trimming along, or for example I had to trim out this hole where the strut will go in, then that was actually much better like that. So as I say, I put on the lower part, I'm using the water and glue mix, then I trimmed it and folded it up, and then I put the top part, did the same. The challenge here is that sometimes the tissue is a little bit rough on the leading edges, or when it sticks to the glue, to the wood directly, so I have to work it through either with the finger or with the brush multiple times, not just put it on once but multiple times, as stretched as possible. And then I did also the wingtip, which I just finished a few moments ago, and basically again from the bottom and then the top. So there we have the wingtip. The next step is going to be to cover it with 2 to 3 layers of the water glue mix, and that should end up looking somehow like, if I bring down the tail surface is somehow like this, a little bit glossy. It's got a little bit of wrinkles, but as it's got water, then when it dries it'll also get taut, so it'll stretch out. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but it does get a little bit more tense. So that is then the next step, to shrink and cover with the glue water, mix the wing. Once that is done, then the other side, and then also the top wings. The top wings, they're not tethered, so it actually may be easier to work with them, as I can do it then on the table without having to stand. So someday I hope to be able to actually film how I do things, but it's not so easy, let's say it like that. So here is the lower right wing. This has already got the second layer of glue and water. The underside only has one. What's a little bit disappointing, I think you can see it in the reflection, is that it's a little bit wrinkly. It was also happening with other parts. When I envision this, it's always much smoother. Some panels are maybe a little bit smoother. I'm not doing anything much different, so I think in the end it'll kind of look okay, right? But not maybe as smooth as I would like it to be, and as other materials actually achieve. What I still want to do with this one is then do it. This is the second one on this side. I'll do at least one more, and then two on the other side, and see how that goes. Let's see if it stretches. What I'm thinking is that maybe I did not stretch, I know I did not stretch the tissue before, hoping that the glue and water mix would work as a stretching agent also. And it is different tissue for the upper wings. This is now the top right hand wing with the white tissue from the Guillows kit. Here, because it's, as you see, the Guillows kit, they come in these sheets with which I folded, which is nice. It's quite a lot of it actually. This I've still got some more left, but then I don't want to use the wrinkle in the middle, the fold. So here there are some panels. So what I try to do, I get to use the panel, let's say the sheet, up to here, up to the rib, and then stick on another piece over the rib so that it's less noticeable. I know it's there, so I'll probably find it when I look for it. But it's okay. So I've got actually here one panel this place, another panel here up to the rear spar, and then a longish panel there in the back. So that's how I'm doing this one. The underside is already cut and trimmed and relatively smooth, not shrunk yet. So before I go ahead and say dope or glue the wing, I'll try to shrink this one. Still missing the wing tip. I think I'll probably make it also blue like the other one. And let me show you then the other wing. The top wings are going actually quite fast because it is big pieces, and it's relatively enjoyable for my level, quite enjoyable. Here is then the left hand wing. The top part is still not covered. I'm doing of course the lower part first and then the top part. I put it like this, and then with the scissors I trim it a little bit, or with a scalpel, with a sharp knife, and then I fold it over. So this one I'll fold it over. What I was doing on the other wing, actually the lower tissue, as it's a very big leading edge, I kind of let it even roll back up quite a lot, because there won't be a seam. If it's on the wood you can't really see it, but underneath here, if I pointed it with my pinky, there is tissue on wood, and then on top of it tissue also. So next step will be to cut this and then fold it down and glue it down, and I think it's going to look kind of okay, as best as can be, I think. Maybe other products, maybe dope would be better. I have, I think, an old can of dope somewhere. I don't have a thinner, don't know what thinner to use, but I think for the top wings in a pale color, I think it's going to be nice. So I'll still keep you updated. I'll work a little bit more on the yellow wing, on the lower wing, and then as you see the two upper wings are going faster than the lower wings. Then I'm going to have to do the left lower wing also in yellow. So I'll keep you posted, but it is progressing, which is always great. A brief update on the tissue covering. This wing is the left wing. The top left wing is still not done, but I have not shrunk it, so it's still a little bit loose, the tissue, just that you can see it. I stretched it as much as I could by hand, but as I say, it's not stretched. This one, on the other hand, I have wetted it. I just sprayed it a little bit with this kind of sprayer, so it's just chiff. and soak it quite a lot, like not put it under the tap, but with that sprayer to put it a lot, and it is much more taut, right? So which is the whole point of it. One issue that I have with this wing, don't know if you can see it here, the bottom side of the wingtip is not quite taut, and on the top part, I don't know if you can see it, but because of my clumsiness, you see the tissue actually has got stuck to the wood before the wingtip itself, or the wingtip itself, so it looks a little bit ugly. So I'm not sure if I should maybe cut out the whole piece, or maybe just cut out the little window, or maybe just put a little bit of tissue over it, to try to make it look a little bit better. I think here I also made the mistake. If I look at it, I put the top side on first, and then the bottom side on top, so it wraps over the top, so not the so a little bit of a mistake there, let's say. I think I'll just cut out maybe a patch from some of the scrap tissue that I have, and try to maybe cut this one out and then put on another piece on, and hopefully, maybe not that one, hopefully it looks a little bit better than that. And then what I want to do also with the top wings, as they're not attached to the fuselage itself, I want to see if I can, instead of coating them with the glue and water, if I can do a couple of layers of clear lacquer, which will also stretch it and hopefully also kind of make it watertight. And that's going to take a couple of rounds, but it's a different thing. Like, the experiment is not a really valid one because it is different kind of tissue. This is yellow tissue, this is white tissue, so it's not a valid comparison, but just to see how it goes. And then on the fuselage I'll probably do white tissue with glue, because I can't spray it so easily without getting the lacquer everywhere. So anyhow, a little bit of progress on that. I'll keep you posted on how this goes. I'll do also the wingtip on this and do the stretching, and then also the lower left wing, which is also the yellow wing, the yellow tissue. So let me try to wrap up this video, and I was hoping actually to have all the wings tissued before I wrap up, but it's not going to happen. So first of all, let me show you, this is the other top wing, which I've just soaked, as I said, with this little thing, and I just broke it, I think. I wanted to put a little bit more water there, but I think it will be enough, and I can then do it again anyhow. So that's as soaked as it gets. It doesn't take long to dry. It's ungluing there, which is not good. You can see this boo-boo is happening live, right? You might need to then take out the glue and glue it down. Might be because the glue mix is not so good. So you see, this is how I try to fix things live. This was not planned, of course, because I don't want to ruin it. I've ruined enough of other things as I'll show you now. So let's see if this actually now holds, dries, and does not rip off. I mean, if it does, then I can always put on another piece, right? It's not going to be the end of the world, but anyhow, so I'm going to put it here aside. So that's for the top wing, and then the shrinking process that you see it. I've turned the plane around, and this is then the left lower wing. I've put on the yellow tissue. I need to cut out a little bit for the servo arm. You can see it there sticking out. Need probably to cut it a little bit more, and then eventually I'll cut out the whole thing. So it's kind of dry, but I'm going to leave it overnight before I work on the top part of the wing. And then the other part I wanted to show you is because I wanted to put the clear lacquer on the other wing, and this is my bottle of clear lacquer. You see, it says clear lacquer on it, has a clear top, and I have this other, also very similar, but it's called acrylic lacquer with a grey top, right? And it says here silver in some languages. So I used the wrong one. I wanted to use the clear lacquer one, but I used the silver one because it's very similar, right? Like, I'll blame that. So I tried it on the other wing, and actually it doesn't look half bad. It looks a bit silvery like this. It looks a bit like the Gloucester Gladiator, I was thinking. It's an experiment I've been wanting to do, but I never dared to do because I don't want to redo things. But I think from that perspective, it's not completely bad. It looks nice and shiny. This is the other side without anything, so I'm not sure maybe to leave this side with a real clear lacquer or to go with a full silver. I have to think about it. Kind of destroys a little bit the point of the blue wingtip, right, with all the paint that caused. I could leave it with clear lacquer on the underside and then the top will be somehow silvery in color. Doesn't look bad, which is interesting. We've also been thinking of doing what Skippy does. He paints his models with a spray gun. I don't have that, so I can use spray cans. I do have some spray cans. This one seemed to... I've put on 2 layers on it actually, because the leading edge was a little bit trailing behind, pun intended. But maybe it's not a bad finish after all actually. It gives it a nice texture. So for sure I'm going to have to do it with the other wing, at least on the top part. Maybe also the bottom part. I don't know, I'll think about it. So some boo-boos actually turn out to be good. Like gives us a new insight into new possibilities and new experiments. So I'm going to leave it there now, hoping that the tissue on the other wing doesn't rip off. Still a lot to do, still wing tissue to be done, and then of course in the fuselage, which is going to be a challenge all in its own. So I was expecting this was going to take a bit more time. In any case, thank you everybody very much for watching and for following along on this tissue covering process, and I'll see you next time.